Crowns are an important piece. They play an important role. Without them, this justice system would crumble.
Crown attorneys and the opposition want the province to act. They say there's too much work for too few people, and it's a safety risk.
I had so many texts come in from other people in Canada, and they're all excited.
I just felt really demoralized, really. I just thought, God, how could that happen?
Well, the U.S. election results are in. We'll hear from 2 Newfoundlanders who voted and how they feel about the outcome.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. The number of people without a family doctor remains high. A recent Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association poll found 30% of the province's residents don't have a doctor. Now, the provincial government says the number of people looking for primary care is much lower, with about 50,000 or 10% of residents registered with Patient Connect NL. Here and Now's Mark Quinn explains.
The truth is, too many people don't have access to family physicians. Not enough is being done to address this. And I don't think that it's a priority for the government to have every Newfoundlander have a family physician.
So let me be perfectly clear about that. Family doctors are foundational. They're important. We value them. Patients value them. They are key to the family care teams and key to provision of family care in no matter what the model is across the province.
A poll commissioned by the Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association found about 163,000 residents don't have a family doctor. That is fewer than the 175,000 residents the Medical Association said were without a doctor in July, but its president says the trend is more important than the latest number.
And what we've seen is that since 2014, a continual erosion in access to family medicine. And back in 2014, which is 10 years ago, it was only 11% of Newfoundlanders didn't have a family physician. And we've seen consistently over the past 2 to 3 years that this level of high unattachment to a family physician, 25 to 30% of the population don't have regular access to a family physician, which is unacceptable.
The province says its data shows that fewer than 10% of residents don't have access to primary care. It measures that by looking at the number of people signed up with Patient Connect NL.
When we had done one of our previous surveys, 60% of Newfoundlanders weren't even aware of Patient Connect.
Fury says he doesn't want to get into a debate about numbers, and even one person without access to primary care is not acceptable.
I recognize this as a problem 4 years ago. We brought together stakeholders, including the NLMA, to transform a broken healthcare system. I hope that there's no Newfoundlander and Labradorian who would believe anyone who stand in front of a mic and say that I have the solution that's going to work tomorrow and everybody's going to have a family care team or a family doctor.
The NLMA says part of the solution is the Health and Human Resources Plan that it's been asking for since 2018. The association says it shouldn't take 6 years to figure out which physicians are needed in each community in the province. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
And it's not just doctors. A senior Crown attorney is sounding the alarm on overworked prosecutors trying to stick-handle too many cases, saying it's having an impact not just in the courtroom, but on the streets outside. And he's calling for the province to take action on an issue of public safety. Rob Antle has the details.
Goose Bay is a dangerous place to live. Goose Bay is a very dangerous place.
After this recent protest about crime in central Labrador, the Justice Minister commissioned a review of public safety in the town. The report was released last month and made a series of recommendations. That includes adding Mounties and prioritizing body cameras. More police means more investigations, more charges. And now a senior Crown attorney is raising concerns about the impact of all that on overburdened prosecutors.
Right now we are bursting at the seams. We currently have 5 lawyers in the Happy Valley Goose Bay office. Some of those lawyers are carrying between 200 and 300 files. To add to that would be untenable to situation. I can tell you, we are at our breaking point.
Patton says it's not just a problem in Labrador. The system is under stress all around the province.
You want to ensure that public safety is a priority. And right now, our office is doing its best to make public safety a priority, but we're crumbling. Our foundation is crumbling. We just don't have the people, and we're suffering with experience.
He says there are fewer lawyers in the St. John's region today, handling double the cases compared to just over a decade ago, and he says they need help.
The solution is the government needs to budget for more lawyers. They need to hire more people.
The Justice Minister says work is underway, but has no information at this point about short-term solutions.
We're working through that process now in our department. We'll continue to keep you posted as soon as decisions are made. Obviously, we want to make evidence-based decisions. We hear the concerns from the Crowns and people that are supporting the Crowns in the community. We understand that recruitment is always paramount when you're getting highly skilled positions like that.
Not good enough, says the Tory justice critic.
They need more Crown attorneys hired. Yet, we have no real commitment that that's going to happen now. That needs to happen.
The minister, meanwhile, says he remains focused on public safety.
We understand that Crowns are an important piece. They play an important role. Without them, the justice system would crumble.
Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
Turning now to the inquiry respecting the treatment, experience, and outcomes of Innu in the child protection system. Commissioners have asked for an extension, and the search is on for a new commission chair. Heidi Adder has the latest from Shahajit.
Two of the inquiry's 3 commissioners are in Shahajit this week. The community meetings are open to any Innu wanting to share their story. 2 years since the inquiry began, commissioners say a lot has been learned from the 8 community and private meetings, 3 formal hearings, and more than 80 speakers.
This is what I had hoped for, that it would be a place that the people could come in and share their truths and the experiences.
Experiences with residential schools, day schools, forced settlement, alcohol abuse, child abuse, and more. There's trauma, but also CUPE says the promise of possibility, a better future.
And we want to thrive. We want to see our kids thrive. We want to see our children thrive as well. So there's always that hope that I saw.
There is still a lot of work ahead. After this week, commissioners will begin investigations into 6 children who died either while in care or shortly after leaving care.
I guess an analogy I could use is like looking out over the harbour. And you look out over the harbour and it's really foggy. And you can't see the other side, you can't see very much. And you know that it's out there somewhere, but you're not quite sure. And so what's happening now is that the fog is clearing and clearing and clearing. And so I feel very good that we're on a very good path at this point in time.
Commissioners hope to hear about the appointment of a new commissioner chair soon, with formal hearings and investigations following soon after. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Shahajit, Innu First Nation.
6 schools in the west end of St. John's had to be secured this afternoon following an assault that has the RNC searching for a teenage boy. Police say the 17-year-old is suspected of attacking a woman at her home on Curling Place near the Village Mall. The RNC's K9 unit is involved. Police are searching Cowan Heights and the Topsail Road area for the teen. Police say the woman was hospitalized and they believe the attack was targeted. Students in the secured schools were dismissed an hour late. Well, the PCMHA for Topsail Paradise is raising concerns about a man in Conception Bay South who was shot late last month. Paul Dinn says he's heard the man had to wait for an ambulance to come from Whitburn, roughly 45 minutes away. The injured man's own father arrived before EMS, Dinn told the House. This afternoon, he put those concerns to Municipal Affairs Minister John Haggie.
Speaker, while the father waited with his son who had been shot in the back, the only ambulance available was dispatched from Whitburn. Speaker, in an emergency, minutes matter, seconds matter. Speaker, this could have been a tragedy. Why was there no ambulance available in the area?
Obviously, these are issues that require investigation.
Order, please.
Thank you. It sounds like the outcome was fortunately not as bad as it could have been. Again, happy to look into the incident and the details. Obviously, without those, it is not possible for me to speculate, or inappropriate for me to do so, on the floor of the House.
In other news, no new interest in the offshore. The Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador Offshore Petroleum Board put 41 parcels up for exploration licenses, and there were no bids. Companies had 6 months to make an offer, starting at a minimum of $10 million in work commitments. Now, this map shows the land being offered up in yellow. For perspective, the current oil fields like Hibernia are in orange toward the bottom. This news comes as 2 exploration wells drilled this summer came up dry. Well, work on the Sea Rose in Belfast is complete, and the vessel is sailing back to Newfoundland. That's according to Cenovus Energy CEO John McKenzie, who made the announcement last week. Production from the existing White Rose field is expected to resume by the end of the year. McKenzie calls it a major milestone in the life extension project for the field, which includes the fixed drilling platform West White Rose. He says the project is 85% complete, and Cenovus is on track for first oil in 2026. The Sea Rose ceased operations in January and traveled to Northern Ireland for a $100 million refit to stay current with Transport Canada regulatory requirements. Well, it's the biggest headline in the world today. Donald Trump will be returning to the White House as the 47th president of the United States. And some Newfoundlanders and Labradorians directly contributed to the election results. Here Now's Jessica Singer has more.
Lots of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians spent the night glued to their TV screens watching the results for the 2024 U.S. elections. But some of them didn't just watch the votes come in, they voted. Singer Addie Eastman was born and raised in Terra Nova, but has lived in the southern United States for 30 years. He became a dual citizen a few years ago, so this was the first time he voted in a presidential election. He voted for Trump because he favors the candidate and Republican policies when it comes to things such as immigration and the economy. He was excited about the election results and was also excited to vote.
It felt good. It's a civic thing, like voting for prime minister or whatever. It's just something that people should do, not to take the politics around you for granted. If you got a gripe about something, you can't really say much about it if you're not involved.
Many who voted for Democratic candidate Kamala Harris weren't as pleased. Janet Stinson Howells is a dual U.S. American citizen because her father was a U.S. Marine. He voted for Trump, she voted for Harris, and they both voted from St. John's by applying for an absentee ballot. She hoped for different results.
I just felt really demoralized, really. I just thought, God, how could that happen? I really had a lot of hope. I think a lot of people did that there'd be a difference and that Kamala would be the president.
Stinson Howells says she voted for Harris because of her policies protecting women's rights and because she felt Harris was an inspirational leader.
Her message of hope and joy was one that I think so many of us really hung on to and really thought would precipitate a lot of change. But I kind of thought maybe that's a position almost of privilege to want to vote for hope and joy.
Although there's mixed and strong opinions about the outcome of the U.S. election, dual citizens with connections to this province say it's a privilege being able to have their say. Jessica Singer, CBC News, St. John's.
Hold edit. Look at that. Central Labrador held a few bonfires last night. The snow didn't seem to slow down the folks taking in the community fire in Shehajit, where all hands enjoyed roasting marshmallows on the fire, but there was also a big bonfire in Happy Valley Goose Bay.
It was an important device both to physically protect soldiers, but perhaps more importantly, to give them a sense that the Army was looking out for them, that this specter of chemical agents could be protected against, and that they would not die like rats in a trench.
World War I, Germany releases a brutal weapon on the battlefield. The need for protection inspires a life-saving invention, created by Clooney McPherson, a Newfoundland doctor with the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. The story of the hypo-helmet. That story, Thursday, November 7th on Here and Now.
Well, it was Election Day yesterday, not just in the United States, but also here in St. John's for a seat on St. John's City Council. The voters of Ward 3 in St. John's have spoken, and they've chosen Greg Noseworthy to be their new councillor. Noseworthy received 42.7% of the total votes, defeating the other 4 candidates in the by-election.
Hi, my name is Greg Noseworthy from Cowan Heights. I live in Money Pond now. I'm the new Ward 3 councillor for the City of St. John's. A lawyer by trade, primarily work with nonprofits, and I do a lot of seniors advocacy. So, of course, ran a couple times. The last time I came close second to Jamie Korab, who's now our member of the House of Assembly. It was a great experience, and for me, just getting on the doors, knocking on doors, chatting with people, getting the encouragement to really work for them and hear their issues and know that things can be done. It's really pushed me forward to just put myself out there. One of the biggest things for me, of course, is advocating, as I've done for so many years, for nonprofits, for my clients. I want to advocate for the people of Ward 3. We've been without an advocate for a couple months here now, and it's time to get that back and make sure that their issues are being heard. From the West End, of the West End, it's a near place to my heart. I want everybody to know that if they have questions, concerns, they just want to reach out and grab a tea or coffee. I'm available, and I will always be available to the good folks here in Ward 3.
Well, to the other side of the province now, where we have one more Guy Fawkes fire to show you. This one is in Corner Brook, and the event was in aid of the fire department's annual toy drive. The CBC's Amy Fian was there.
Well, tonight we're having our 5th annual community bonfire in aid of the Corner Brook Firefighters Toy Drive. Well, we had opened the chalets 6 years ago, and I grew up in Corner Brook with community bonfires. We didn't seem to have those in the past. I knew the firefighters were always looking for contribution for their toy drive, so I thought it was a natural connection. So we reached out, and they were all gung-ho to come along and give us a hand and do a community bonfire. We think that there's probably 400, 500, 600 people here every night, or every time we do it, and everybody seems to enjoy it. So we've got some pot fires for the kids as well, which are hot dogs and marshmallows, so you can do a nice little roast instead of trying to do something by a big roaring fire.
Yeah, that might be a bit dangerous, huh?
A little tad dangerous next to the roaring fire, yeah. It's heartwarming, it really is. It's nice to see people come out to support the firefighters for all that they do for us and what they do for the kids that aren't able to get some presents during Christmas. And it's just nice to see people get out and just connect with themselves and to have fun.
Toy drive is big for the firefighters every year. Something that we really look forward to. Kind of kicks off Christmas, gets us in the spirit, in the mood for Christmas. And it's just really good for us each year. I'm not really sure what we get each year from here. We do get a nice bump to start off our season. This is kind of like the unofficial kickoff to the toy drive for us. We start with the bonfire, we go on to Berry Merry Christmas and a few more events. But it's really nice because it gets everyone aware of things then. Everyone starts getting ready for Christmas, get them in the giving mood. My favorite part is just sitting here and seeing all the kids being so happy, like the amount of marshmallows and wieners I give out to them. They're coming back 3, 4, 5 at a time, and it's just awesome seeing them happy.
I'm with my family at bonfire night.
What do you like about bonfire night? What's the best part?
Roasting marshmallows and hanging out with my friends.
And we have an update for you now on the 17-year-old that the RNC was searching for. He has been apprehended. The RNC had a K-9 unit searching in the Cowan Heights area for an alleged attack against a woman on Curling Street.
Well, if we take a look at what's going to happen over the next little bit, we've got rain tonight, cooler tomorrow, and then the possibility that we could see a little bit of a weekend storm, which I will get into coming up a little later.
All right, time for a look at the weather. Ashley, what's in store for us?
Yeah, it's been a bit wet today for parts of the province, but it's also been very warm for most of us along the south coast and eastern portions of Newfoundland as well. Let's take a look at what the situation is out there right now. We've got basically an area of low pressure to the north and a couple of fronts associated with that. So we've got a warm front, a cold front, and just as it is, we've got that colder air to the north and much warmer southerly flow affecting most of the island. And that has been the story for most of the day today. We're taking a look at the temperatures right now. Still sitting at about 7 degrees in Corner Brook, 8 in Terra Nova, but along the south coast and southern areas of the island, temperatures are anywhere from 9 to 11 degrees, the hot spot being Port aux Basques right now. Up across Labrador on the colder side of that, 0 in Lab City, 3 in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and hovering around the 2 degree mark for Cartwright at the moment. So just taking a look at the current satellite and radar right now, the radar's still down on the west coast. So we are still seeing some showers, certainly seeing some showers around Deer Lake, but most of the activity right now in eastern areas of the island. If I zoom in, you can see some heavier showers moving across the Burin Peninsula at the moment right now, and then there's some to the south there that may just skirt towards the Avalon. So expect that over the next couple of hours for those showers to continue. Eventually, by the time we get into about midnight, we should see that rain end. But it is still going to be cloudy as we head through tonight. We'll notice that behind that front, temperatures will be much cooler as well. Now, up across Labrador, still hanging on to the chance of some flurries, especially in Lab West, central areas of Labrador as well. By the time we get into the morning and even towards the coast, don't be surprised to see a few flurries there as well. Now, as far as the rainfall amounts go, nothing too significant, traced to maybe 5 millimeters. Some of those heaviest showers could bring a little bit more than that. But for the most part, like I said, that should end around midnight tonight. Overall, tonight, our temperatures will be sitting around 0 to about 4 degrees. So a big drop in temperatures expected on the west coast, really across the board. But those winds will still be up a little bit as well, around 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. And then flurries for Labrador. And overnight lows tonight will dip anywhere from about 0 to -2. And then as we get into tomorrow, the first part of the day, pretty decent, although we may see some lingering showers, maybe even a few flurries in the mix in the east. But the clouds will be on the increase as the day goes on. And the chances of some flurries and even showers will be a little bit more prominent by the time we get into the afternoon, especially and evening, especially for the west coast. And then up across Labrador, you're basically looking at cloudy skies for most, with the chances of some flurries in the mix there as well, particularly for the west. And that will continue basically as we get into early Friday morning. So daytime highs tomorrow will be much cooler than what we're seeing today. Single digits, 3 to about 7 degrees. Winds either out of the southwest or northwest, depending on where you are. But they'll be around 40 kilometers per hour. And then up across Labrador, you're looking at temperatures into the single digits as well, 3 to 6 degrees. A little cooler, though, for those of you in the west. You'll be hovering around 0, about +1. And again, the potential for some flurries in the mix there with winds generally out of the northwest between 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. Now, keeping an eye on our next weather maker, an area of low pressure that's going to move in by the time, or start to move in, I should say, by Friday. There has been, some potential to see some snow with this, which could be accumulating. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that one. And if we do see that, it will be in the Saturday, potentially even into Sunday timeframe. So like I said, keep an eye on that. That's in the long range forecast. And it could be pretty windy as well. And I will get into all of those details when I come back a little later.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, returning now to our top story, the head of the province's medical association had a lot to say about a shortage of family doctors, but he also says the healthcare crisis is even more dire than the public realizes. As Dr. Steve Major tells the CBC's Mark Quinn, he believes doctors are afraid to voice their true concerns for fear of reprisals from the health authority.
When I hear stories that in Bonavista someone's having a heart attack, there's no internal medicine specialist for them to send to in Clarenville, and they can't get a cardiologist to take the patient at the health sciences because they have no beds, and then have to send the patient to Carbonear. Those are real life stories that you say, why is this happening? It shouldn't be happening. Shouldn't the patient be given direct access to cardiology, see the cardiologist, and then we figure out the beds? So we're in this situation where decisions that are made that negatively affect patients because we've come to accept a crisis. I feel like it's that meme where the dog is sitting in a house and the house is on fire and everyone just keeps saying, I'm fine, it's fine, nothing to see here. And it's not the case. It's just that we don't see the true stats that, people are dying. We have the second highest rate of hospitalization in this province across the country. We have had higher mortality rates. We have the most ill patients in terms of comorbidities and chronic disease. And so I feel like if we wanted to change this, we just need to try to operationalize and fix the system. But physicians have been disenfranchised from that system with the amalgamation of the health authorities. Physicians are in a position where they're not in positions of power to make decisions. When things should be done a certain way, they are told what way to do it. They're in a position where they feel vulnerable, that they can't speak out against the health authority or for fear of losing their job, a fear of losing their privilege. If you're a surgeon or an internal medicine specialist and you work at the hospital, if you say something the health authority disagrees with you, they can take your privileges and then you have no income. So there's this a pull and push where physicians are put in a place where they know things should be done differently, but sometimes not being able to make the changes and help make the decisions that are necessary to make the system work better.
I'm not a physician, but I'm guessing a lot of physicians become physicians because they want to advocate for their patients. Is it harder to advocate for a patient in the system right now, where you feel like you're being told not to speak by the health authority?
I think it's that. I also think that physicians by nature are taken advantage of by the health authority because they know we won't abandon our patients. We will make sure that at the end of the day, our duty of care is done even at the sacrifice to our own health and well-being. And that's what has supported the system, is that physicians have given of themselves, but there is a point at which they can't give any more. And we're seeing higher rates of burnout in physicians, higher rates of people leaving the province because they just can't take it anymore. And
Well, anyone who comes here knows how expensive it can be to fly these days. And for people who have no choice but to travel for medical reasons, that is an incredible financial burden. Coming up, we'll tell you about an organization that helps with that.
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs.
What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped? Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shawjee, Innu First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Oh, we've been covering a lot of stories about the rising cost of airfare within Newfoundland and Labrador. For example, to fly out of Labrador, the cost has gone up by about 33% in the past 5 years. And for people who have no choice but to fly for medical reasons, that financial strain is getting harder and harder to bear. Joining me now is Jacqueline Sullivan of Hope Air. So can you start by telling us a little bit about what the organization does?
Sure. Hope Air is a national charity. We provide free, non-emergency travel for Canadians in financial need who have to travel long distances to access medical care not available in their home community.
What has the demand been like, especially over the past few years as we're seeing the rising cost of travel?
Yeah, so this year we're on track to have about 2,000 total travel arrangements. So that would include individual flights, hotel accommodations, ground transportation, and meal vouchers. That's up from about 1,600 last year, which was up 110% from the year prior. So we're definitely seeing that increased demand, which I think reflects cost of living going up, cost of travel going up, and simply just, more need for these services in this province.
How stressful is it for a family when they're dealing with this kind of situation, a medical situation that they're trying to figure out how they can possibly afford?
Yeah, it's incredibly stressful. One of our patients, for example, his mom, she's a single mom with 2 young boys, found out that her 4-year-old son has eye cancer. The type of cancer he has is not treatable here in the province. So she finds out that she's going to have to travel along with him 9-10 times this year to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. She's thinking, where am I going to come up with these extra thousands of dollars that each of those travel flights and accommodations are going to represent? So that's where Hope Air can step in. There is a medical travel assistance program in Newfoundland and Labrador that's available to everyone in the province. The challenge with that is there are gaps because it's largely a reimbursement program, and the patients that we transport, many of them just don't have the upfront ability to pay the upfront cost. So that's where we step in and fill those gaps. The vast majority of the patients that travel with Hope Air earn between $35,000 and $40,000 a year. They're working, but many of these families are just struggling to make their day-to-day living expenses.
Tell us what Hope Air Day is.
So in Newfoundland and Labrador, we had 17 communities, municipalities come together and proclaim November 5th Hope Air Day. We're very thrilled because this shows that they recognize the impact that Hope Air has on their communities.
And how is Hope Air funded?
So we get most of our funding through private donors. As a national charity, we have the ability to form partnerships with major airlines. Uber, we have a great partnership with, hotel chains, that enables us to be able to provide this travel in an efficient manner. We do get a very small grant from the provincial government, but we're always in need of more corporate donations. Our patients say that they often have to make really tough choices. 30% of them, or a full 1/3, say that without Hope Air, they would have canceled or postponed their medical appointment, which means they're likely to get more ill, which means that they're likely to take up more resources internally in our healthcare system. So it's, a challenging time for many, and thankfully, Hope Air can be there to support, to ensure they get equitable and timely access to healthcare.
Well, Jacqueline Sullivan, thank you so much for speaking with me today and telling us about the work that you do.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And as Jacqueline mentioned, that Hope Air Day was yesterday, but the organization is looking for donations year-round, and you can contribute on their website, hopeair.ca. Returning now to the U.S. election, Donald Trump has made a stunning comeback, reclaiming the presidency after a 4-year absence. His party also won back the Senate and may yet take the House. The CBC's Susan Ormiston is in Michigan, where Republicans say the results show that the Democratic leadership is out of touch with Americans.
Cheers and tears for Trump's historic comeback.
Michigan Republicans celebrating into the early hours. Jason Bright has followed Trump for 9 years.
He's the only one. He did it once, and he'll do it again. And we have that faith, you know. And that's what we've been keeping the faith, you know. And it's just nice to see this right now.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Trump inspired them to vote to take back a country they believe is falling into decline and has moved too far to the left. Michigan's split in a rural-urban divide echoed in many parts of the country.
Democrats don't care about middle America. They are the party of the coast, and this Republican Party is painting Michigan red tonight because they actually care about people in the middle part of the country.
By putting Americans' prosperity back rightfully where it belongs in our own country.
Trump's message, dark and foreboding for many, was dismissed by his supporters.
Oh my gosh, I was giddy. You couldn't believe it. I had people texting me at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Jim Vaca's convinced Trump can supercharge the economy at home and solve foreign wars.
The first thing that I hope he does is go in there and let's get this war in Ukraine and Russia stopped. Let's get the war in Israel and Gaza stopped. I'm a veteran myself. There's nothing good that comes out of war.
In the end, Donald Trump was able to capture a variety of constituencies, including Latinos.
When Trump was in office, we had the best border security ever in the history of this nation. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best one. And under Biden and Kamala, we had the worst one ever in history.
Donald Trump gave a nod last night to a promise to unite this country, but after one of the nastiest elections in recent history and fears of a grievance campaign once he's in office, America remains deeply divided. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, near Detroit, Michigan.
And the Democrats' presidential candidate has now conceded defeat in the election. Here's part of what Kamala Harris had to say.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has congratulated Donald Trump on last night's victory. And speaking to reporters today, he struck an optimistic tone on Canada-U.S. relations.
I look forward to working with President Trump once again to strengthen North American economic opportunities for the middle class, to grow our economies in ways that make us competitive around the world, to protect North America from the many, many challenges that exist around the world. The world is actually even more difficult and more complicated than it was 4 years ago. And I know that there's lots of work for us to do, and I'm looking forward to do it. On our side, we've been preparing for this. We're looking forward to doing this work.
Well, U.S. President Joe Biden has so far failed to bring peace to Israel and its enemies, and now attention turns to Donald Trump. The CBC's Chris Brown looks at how Trump's victory is viewed in the Middle East.
Many Palestinians watching Donald Trump's victory amid a destroyed Gaza say they feel no good will come of it. Today, the Americans voted for an administration that's refused a two-state solution, said Abu Osama Naim. So the war will continue and destruction will continue. Israeli attacks have killed 43,000 Palestinians in the past 13 months, according to Gaza's health ministry. Israel says it's targeting Hamas militants, although the vast majority of the dead are civilians, with more killed Wednesday. Biden could not stop the war, but I think Trump will stop the war so he can claim a success for himself, said Safwat al-Khahouki on a rare note of optimism. In his first term, Trump's policies were strongly pro-Israel, including recognizing illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank. During a presidential debate, Trump said this about Israel's war in Gaza.
And you should let him go and let him finish the job.
In his imagination of, quote, finish the job,
I don't think that he means that there should be a ceasefire. I don't think he means that Israel should be stopping. I think that he means that he's going to let Israel do whatever it wants to do.
Despite the immense civilian casualties in Gaza, the Biden administration has repeatedly refused calls to sanction Israel or to hold back weapon shipments, even as it's pushed Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to agree to a ceasefire. One of the few senior Israeli politicians also pushing for a halt to the war was Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Just hours before Trump's win, Netanyahu fired him.
By removing Gallant, he is removing an obstacle for perpetuating the war and perpetuating his grip on power.
Thousands of Israelis took to the streets in protest, and there may be court hearings to try to overturn Netanyahu's decision. But for now, Israel's prime minister has likely strengthened a key ally and eliminated a rival. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Well, to some sports news now. They are big, strong, and tough, and they're about to become Olympians. Flag football has been added to the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, and the NFL views that as a great opportunity to bring men and women into the sport.
I think flag football is this opportunity not only for girls, which I spoke about, to play, but for more people, for parents who may not have put their sons in tackle. Flag football is an opportunity to play. If you think about internationally how people can experience football, flag football is just so much more accessible.
Stephanie Kwok became the NFL's first ever head of flag football. Her goal is to generate global interest in football at the grassroots level, and she feels that introducing football to the Summer Games is a positive step. Flag football has been popular with women and girls for decades, and in recent years, it's become a competitive sport in many high schools.
Hi, I'm Rick Mercer with the offer of a lifetime and a very big ask. In less than a year, the 2025 Canada Games are coming to Newfoundland and Labrador, and that means we've got company coming, big time. The numbers are mind-boggling. This coming August, 25,000 people from all across Canada are going to descend on this province for the Games, and every single one of them can't wait to get here. They've heard good things, so we need to ensure they have the time of their life, the games of their life. As a province, we've got to knock this one out of the park. So here's the ask. We need you to represent Team Newfoundland and Labrador at the Games. We need 5,000 volunteers, all ages, all skills. You would not believe the jobs that need to be filled, the experience you will get, the friends you will make. To make these games work, there are so many moving pieces, but the most important piece, the final piece, the mission-critical piece is you. Visit the website, join the team.
Okay, time for a look at the long-range forecast now, and we're getting later in the week. How are things looking as we start thinking about the weekend?
Well, things look like they're going to get a bit unsettled, actually, as we head towards the weekend. A little bit better agreement in just to what's going to happen, but where we're going to see the weather is the question. So let's take a look at what's going on as we head into our Friday. So our next weather maker is moving on in, but for the first part of Friday, it'll be pretty lovely. But as this area of low pressure moves in, things will get unsettled, especially as we head into the evening hours for the west coast, parts of the south coast as well, and then even bringing some snow potential to parts of Lab West. So again, we're going to have to keep an eye on this one. There's a bit of disagreement on exactly what's going to happen. It's pretty complicated forecast at this point, but it does look like we will see something as we head into Friday and Saturday. So temperatures at this point are going to sit somewhere between 2 and 5 or even 6 degrees across the island. Labrador, you'll be on the cool side, especially to the west, -1. Otherwise between 0 and about +2. And then into Friday evening and Saturday, that's when the system, it looks like at this point, will really get going. So we could see some snow with this. Exactly where that falls, that's the question at the moment, but some accumulating snow certainly possible, and that looks like that will start on Saturday. Most of us across eastern Newfoundland will be seeing rain, at least for the first part of Saturday. We could see some of that snow head towards central by the time we get into the evening hours. So again, definitely if you have any travel plans on the weekend, we're going to have to pay close attention to this forecast. But our daytime highs will sit again between 2 to about 6 degrees through the day, although it will be windy. And Labrador somewhere between 1 to 4 degrees, but a little cooler for those of you in the west on Saturday. And again, you're going to hang on to the chance of some flurries too, as well through central areas of Labrador. Long range forecast as we head into Sunday, still going to hang on to the chance of some showers or flurries on Sunday for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland with temperature around 3 degrees. And for Monday, we're going to be hovering around the 2-degree mark through the afternoon. And then for central Newfoundland, again, the weekend, it is looking like we could see some messy weather, some accumulating snow there. For 4 degrees will be the daytime high. Sunday, some flurries will linger, but it should clear out and we'll hover around 2 degrees. And then for Monday, return of some quiet weather with your daytime high around 3. Now for western Newfoundland, you're looking at the same forecast essentially, with daytime highs just a little cooler as we head into the weekend. And then up across Labrador, you're looking at flurries through Sunday. Monday clearing up, but dropping below 0. A little bit of a roller coaster for Lab West as you hover a couple of degrees above and below as we head into the beginning of next week. Our weather photo of the day is the arches of the Provincial Park on the Northern Peninsula. So this, I love that place. Have you ever seen it?
I feel like I have.
Yeah, it's great.
Long time ago. Drove up there.
Yeah. Rodney shared this lovely shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can do that by sending them to my Facebook page. But the best place is to email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that's just a fabulous shot. The beaches in this province are just gorgeous.
They're all different. I love
And
it.
they are. Some are sandy, some are rocky, some have arches.
There you go.
So much diversity on our shores. Okay, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you can join us again tomorrow.
Good night.